and I am so excited to connect with you and with everybody that will be joining on replay. I am Eric Brummett from Mythic Life, and tonight we're going to be really exploring what is purpose. We're going to be diving deep into how magical you are, and that we do have so many different versions of purpose available in our life. We may be living some of them. There may be some that we need to discover and redirect the course of our life. And we're going to look at, what challenges sometimes get in the way of really feeling that we are living in our purpose, and how theta healing really has an incredible ability to address and heal what is keeping us stuck, while empowering us with the tools to be able to not only discover, but manifest and move into a life that is really fulfilling and full of purpose. So diving in, really jumping into this one, there's so much out there in the world and social medias and books around this idea of purpose. And, I want to share with you my experience of it and my perspective of this concept of living in purpose. Purpose is something that comes from an aspect of ourself that is from our intuition and from our spirit, our soul. We actually come into this life with consciousness. And this consciousness, this aspect of ourself, is beautifully divine and has this essence to it that has a magic. It brings abilities and qualities into our life with it that has intention. Our soul has intention for this life when we come in. And it doesn't mean our life is mapped out and all of this about fate. It really is more of this adventurous soul, this adventurous spirit that is wanting to be saturated with and live life, to really experience it. So the purpose is not some I'm going to achieve this and create this company and make this success, although those can be elements to what is fulfilling. But purpose can be the beauty of discovering and having an open heart, to love deeply and to feel a sense of connection and spiritual intimacy with another person, to receive the love of a child and step into being a parent. It can be a calling inside us of wanting to facilitate change in the world around us, support and heal a family member, or help wake people up to a higher level of consciousness and behavior and actions of being a healer. So purpose can be so many different components to it. And we really know that we are in the energy of purpose and fulfillment when life has a flow to it, when we feel that there is opportunities opening up. It doesn't make life easy. Easy could be very boring for our soul, but it can have a gentleness to it. It can have this place of miracle transformations. For me, in my journey, I kept running into roadblocks. I know I was young before I came into learning the technique of theta healing and started really addressing and working on myself and receiving healing work. But nothing seemed to work. Every path I tried to go down seemed like a dead end, or would start to move and then all of a sudden would collapse. And I would end up back in a place of struggle, scarcity, survival, feeling isolated, alone, depressed. It was so many different levels to it. And in hindsight, I know a lot of that was manifesting out of a lot of harshness of what was happening in life. And this is the thing, that we come into this life with gifts. We come into this world with magic, and we are hardwired with intuition. The beauty and divinity of how a human body is designed, we have all these senses, we have all this sensory, and with every sense we have an intuition, and through every intuition there is abilities. Yet with each of these forms of intuition, it's also sensitivity. And the situations of our life may have been really harsh when we came in. You know, it's a lot for the soul to all of a sudden come into, you know, this dense little body in these complex social situations of the world around us. We live in a time that seems really layered in distraction, complexity, expectations, and pressures. And, you know, depending on the situations of your family and your home, you may have been facing hardships, struggle, scarcity, trauma, abuse in many different levels that cause us to shut down, to forget how magical we are, to find a place where life becomes intense, it can become dramatic, and we have to figure it out and adapt. And the thing about that adaptation is that we are, in being open and sensitive, adopting energy. We take on expectations, pressures, and we adopt out of an unconscious side of ourselves, subconscious beliefs and programs that sometimes direct us to trying to fix situations of our life by taking on a prescribed life. You know, for me, I went through struggle with school. I went through struggle in relationships. And it was a feeling of scarcity and survival. And the culture around me, I was growing up in California, a beach town, Santa Cruz, California, where there was this ideal stereotypical life. You know, everybody was some type of athlete. You know, it was surfing and skateboarding and bicycle riding, you know, everything with the Santa Cruz label on it that you could imagine. And the culture and lifestyle was, oh, well, there's only certain careers where you can live surfing all the time. And there's only certain careers that you could live having free time to do all of these lifestyle pieces. And I was looking at that and took on this prescribed life, right? I took on this idea of, well, what you do is you become a paramedic so that you could become a fireman, and you only have to work 2 days a week so that you can be free to surf, and you get to retire before you get too old. It's 15 years to full retirement. And it was like, yeah, that's it. On paper, it was a perfect prescribed life, right? So I'm pursuing this, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't match what was inside of me. It was the answer to the problems I was facing of hardship and intensity and scarcity and lack of career path and not having money and jobs not working out and rents being too high. And then all of the drama of, you know, what was happening socially. And, you know, so all these layers to it. I'm just sharing with you how being a sensitive soul, being somebody that might seem a little different, that you're actually magical and you have these abilities inside you. And yet sometimes we forget. Sometimes we start to adopt ideas of what life is supposed to be, and we take on a prescribed life in order to reach for fulfillment, to reach outside ourselves for what is going to complete us, which is a paradox that works against you. I'm curious, like, as I'm sharing with this, what is ringing true for you? You can write it in the chat. I want for you to take a moment and really think about this. Like, as you have been living your life, what called you in tonight? What feels like is getting in the way of you being in your purpose? These struggles, when we forget, when we get out of alignment with our intuition, when we end up going in a course that isn't aligned with what is actually fulfilling inside us, life helps us correct. And this is what health conditions are. So what manifests health issues, what manifests health conditions is a recipe of forgetting our free will and our spirits and our intuition, taking on limiting subconscious beliefs that form emotions and mindset and lifestyle patterns that put us in situations and environments that are not true to our authentic side. And our soul, through our subconscious beliefs, invites the manifestation of a health condition in order to help course correct and to be a guide and a teacher to us. We learn from every health situation, yet they are manifested out of limiting beliefs in our subconscious. Every health situation, from a theta healing perspective, is a compatible manifestation to the belief systems that we carry within us. And these belief systems are on a subconscious level. It isn't something that you consciously self-identify by. It's everything other than conscious, which is what the subconscious is. So these programs, these beliefs, come from not just culture around us, but they come from the direct experiences of our life. We adopt and learn from. We adopt and learn from the people around us that are of influence. We absorb their consciousness and their energy into us. We also have subconscious beliefs that we carry from our ancestry and the way that they lived and thought and felt, from our parents, our grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, going back generations. We also carry this from memories that we bring into this life from other lifetimes. So our subconscious has all this layering to it that you may actually be in different situations of actually being in purpose. And yet, because of struggles and stresses that are manifestations from subconscious beliefs, we feel unfulfilled. Our life feels overcomplicated and burdened with things. And we forget that what we're actually having in our life can be quite beautiful if we can be present with it, if we can shed those blankets and layers of energies and issues off of us. So this place of our hardwiring, that we are born with these gifts, that we're born with these sensitivities, do often start to manifest the hardships. And when we rediscover them, we can then start to shed away these issues. So theta healing, is theta healing something new for both of you? Have either of you trained in theta healing before or read anything about it? It's new? Okay. A little background of what the modality of theta healing is. Okay. Theta healing is a modality that was channeled in and created by a woman named Vienna Steibel, who lives in Montana. She was living in Idaho Falls, Idaho, when she created the technique. And it came through her natural intuition. She was always very naturally gifted, very open-hearted, and had a lot of intuitive sensitivities and deep belief in a creator. It was when she faced a health crisis that she really started to focus on healing. She always wanted to support and help people and was doing intuitive readings. And then she ended up having a health crisis where she was at risk of losing her leg and that she didn't have a pathway of really healing. She tried to address it with cleanses, with alternatives. She explored the possibility of it being cancer and doing chemotherapy, but nothing really opened up. And she was starting to get to a place where it was really threatening her life. And she had an instantaneous healing where this tumor, this 9-inch tumor on her femur bone, disappeared as she did a healing on herself. And she realized how powerful a theta brainwave was, that the same way she was intuiting and doing intuitive readings, she could perform healings. And so she started to work on people and heal them. She found that some people healed and some people didn't. And she explored this. She always wanted to understand. And this is when she realized that the people that were not healing had belief systems in the way, that they had to work on their mindset and their emotions and the patterns of their life through their subconscious in order to heal. And it started to form into this healing modality technique focused on health. But as she worked on people and their health got better, their life also changed. They felt more conscious and awake. They started to wake up to their gifts of intuition, and their situations, their life shifted. Opportunities started coming in. They found inspiration and pursued certain life paths that were fulfilling, and they drew people to them that were more in alignment with their true selves, and they found their soulmates and they found love. And she realized that the same way we can heal, we can also manifest and create and move forward. And it formed into this technique of developing our intuition, connecting through a theta meditation to the creator of all it is, to facilitate change, rapid change, even instantaneous change in our lives, to work on our health, to work on our subconscious beliefs, and to develop through intuitive exercises our different forms of intuition so that we can start to communicate with those other sides of ourselves, so that we can start to discover and know our more true, authentic selves, and that we can manifest and draw those opportunities to us to be able to move into what is really fulfilling to our heart. So for me, I learned theta healing in 2001. I was in a health crisis. I was going to college. I was pursuing becoming a paramedic, wanting to become that fireman so that I can serve. But for years, I was facing struggles in my health. I had infections in my body. I had surgeries. I was diagnosed a diabetic. I was becoming depressed. My energy levels were really low. I was struggling with money. I was almost to the point of being homeless. And a family friend suggested, hey, there's this woman you can work with over the phone. She could probably heal you, because nothing was working for my health. I couldn't get anywhere with the doctors, wasn't responding to my insulin. I was really on a rapid downward cycle. I had a session with her over the phone. I didn't even know what she was doing. She just asked me questions and asked me if I'd want to change that. I was like, sure. I finished the session and didn't feel anything. I was like, that was strange. Why did I do that? That was a waste of time. And I went surfing. That night I went to sleep and I started having these crazy dreams. I was seeing the planet from outside and feeling all this light pouring onto the planet. I was seeing all these crystals form in the planet. And all of a sudden, the next day I woke up and I felt better. I felt different. My health started to shift. I started to respond to my insulin better. My diabetes stabilized. And I kept having the same dream over and over again. And every day I woke up feeling different for the next about 5 days. And all of a sudden I felt inspired, my depression lifted, and my health balanced, all just from a half-hour session with somebody over the phone. It's like, wow, this is incredible. So I went on, and that was in 2000. That was November of 2000. In March of 2001, I went and I took the basic Theta Healing class. And while I was taking the class, I could hear what Vienna was going to say before she would say it. And then she told me, you know, you're not learning something new. You're remembering something. You've done this before. And she says this to the class. And this is the thing. We are magical. We have these intuitions. And what Theta Healing is techniques as a structured way to practice your natural gifts. You are hardwired for it. You are sensitive. You're empathic. You're caring. You have an open heart. You're clairsentient. You have a very busy mind. You're clairaudient. You're creative and imaginative and a daydreamer. You're clairvoyant. And you have a knowing inside of you. You're prophetic. You're intuitive. And that is something that creates sensitivities. When it's not recognized and fostered and supported early in our lives, sometimes we're told what we're imagining isn't real, and we shut down. Sometimes we're told we're stupid because we're a daydreamer, and we feel insecure and we struggle. So this is how belief systems form out of our sensitivities that are actually magical gifts, and why we start to form these limiting beliefs that shut down our abilities. Why it's so important to heal. As you learn how to do belief work and address your subconscious beliefs, you get energy moving in your body. It wakes up the consciousness of your cells, and it allows for your spiritual consciousness to build within you. As you discover and empower and shift out of limiting beliefs, you start to feel this awakening inside of you, and you remember what feels fulfilling. The last thing I would have ever have thought was moving to New York City and starting a healing practice would have been my purpose. I was a beach bum California surfer. I thought, I want to be a pro surfer. I should work in surf shops and shape surfboards. But I was also adventurous, and I loved saving people. I worked as a lifeguard. One of the most passionate, exciting things was pulling people out of the water that were drowning and giving them CPR, saving lives. So when I learned Theta Healing, all of a sudden I started to feel and know. I didn't logically plan. I intuitively listened. I remember doing a meditation going, I'm feeling alone and bored here. I don't know if I can do what I really feel called to do here. I heard this voice, it's time to leave. And I was like, where should I go? And I hear this feeling and voice inside go, it doesn't matter. Just be there by August 15th. Kind of interesting. It took a lot of courage. Pack up, sell off all my stuff, jump in my car and move. I get back to Idaho to go take another class. 4 months later, I was living in New York City, launching my practice. And I've been so blessed with the opportunity from opening my doors in New York City to being able to work with thousands of people, supporting and helping them. And I remember there's been some significant times. I remember one of my students, he was on one of my podcasts. He has always been a very compassionate, caring, giving person. And out of his struggles and sensitivities, he had some fears. He has light inside him and a magic. He is a performer. He is an actor, and he is a light and a star. You know, some people have that star personality. They need to perform. And he had that inside him. He moved to New York City courageously to act, but it was hard and it was a struggle. And he found a relationship. And because he felt insecure and didn't feel like he was going to be able to make it as an actor, he decided to compromise his path and become the support role in his relationship. He took jobs so that he could be available to his partner. And he took the back seat. Yeah. And it made him miserable. He loved his partner, but they weren't really all that compatible. They were together, and he felt unfulfilled, so he explored spirituality. He studied. He was really gifted in his spiritual practice and intuition. And he worked with, an institution, but instead of stepping forward and being a guide, being an inspiration, he was behind the curtain. He was setting up the mics for the teachers and putting together and organizing the events, and became the support role once again to these inspirational speakers and people. I remember when he came into Theta, he was so caring. He always wanted to take care of everybody. And as we worked on his beliefs, working through fears and insecurities and all those feelings of I'm not good enough, he started to find from his courageous sides that brought him to New York that he wanted to heal people, and he wanted to inspire and wake people up as a motivational speaker. And so after learning the technique, he became a practitioner and went on to becoming a teacher and launched a healing practice, and is now courageously traveling the world, teaching classes, inspiring people, left his relationship and found a new love that supports him. But it took him having to work on his beliefs. It took him having to shed away fears and insecurities, and to start to become confident and inspired by his intuition. And this is what Theta Healing can do. It's a really exciting path. I remember another student, she's also a friend, very creative person. She was living in New York and was dealing with a lot of grief. She was previously married, and her husband ended up in a car accident and having a head injury that left him brain damaged and brain dead, and was unable to move towards anything functional. And she was very young, and they were together, and he was taking care of him. She was taking care of him for years, until it got to a place where it was going to consume her life with him. And for the most part, they were needing his family to take care of him anyway. So it took a lot for her to choose to leave and to follow her own heart. But it created this grief and despair and broke her heart for choosing herself. And she moves to New York City with this, And yet she is one of the most open, sensitive, magical people I've met. She has this fairy-like quality that has this miracle magic of an ability to manifest. She's working in New York, and even though she connects with people and she draws people to her, she felt really isolated, and she was dealing with some health issues. So she was looking for healing. She came in for sessions and we worked on some health issues. And as we do sessions, I could feel her spirit start to wake up, and she reconnected to the passion inside her and to her magic and her playfulness. So she decided to come and learn so that she could play and so that she can tap into mystical abilities. She really wanted to wake up to them. Shortly after taking her class, while she was working, she connected with this person, and the two of them connected and fell in love. He was they ended up starting a company together. They both were in the same field, working in film, and they decided to start their own production company. They fall in love and they have a child and they get married. I'm going to move out of New York City, and every step of their life, they manifest opportunity in. They continued to have children. They have 3 children now, and they are pursuing their spiritual practice and drew in and to their life clients that were in alignment with their creativity so they wouldn't have to compromise themselves. And she brought her charisma in to developing their company, and they ended up working with people to create educational videos to inspire connection into blessing and working with food and plants that led them to living in Maui and cultivating a farm that they manifested the opportunity of purchasing for a couple $100,000, which is kind of amazing for Hawaii. I don't know if you're familiar with Hawaii real estate or not. And then all of a sudden they had a transition. Their clients left and they ran into a block. They didn't know what to do. And it was this karmic piece, because she knew how to work on her beliefs. She knew how to manifest, but sometimes just knowing how to manifest, and I don't know if you do manifesting techniques yourself or not, but the rule number 1 of manifesting is to know what you want. But on what level do you know what you want? And for them, they were living in contentment, which became boredom. And they were finishing and completing the sense of purpose. And it was time to move on to the next. And so as their clients folded and left, and they didn't have an income when they were used to making $40,000 a month, they then looked at and borrowed money from her family, and they built up their farm, and they invested in renewing the soil and working on the land and building the house. And they flipped it and they sold it, and it gave them enough to be able to almost retire. And they were able to move back to Spain, where her family was, returning back to where everything started. And they're there now, having their 4th child. So when we do wake up to our gifts, when we do open up to magic, and when we learn how to attune to our intuition, shed away our limiting beliefs, and learn to manifest, we get to, with courage and adventure, move into life that is fulfilling. We can, as we discover our more authentic, true selves, we are able to call to us relationships that are truly compatible. You know, a soulmate is somebody that knows your spirit. They know you without ever having met you before, and you know them without ever having met them. And there is a spiritual love and intimacy and an attractiveness and a pathway forward to compatibility and living together. I remember when I met my wife, I saw her and it was like deja vu. All I could do is say, oh no, my life is never going to be the same. And we have moved through this life. She is my business partner, and we get to support and work on each other and challenge each other and co-parent together and grow together. We get to support each other's passions and goals. And it is a truly fulfilling life. It isn't easy and complacent. It is adventurous with growth and with new discovery as we move, as we continue to have fluidity and move through our life. It has its challenges, but they are not struggle and survival and scarcity, because we work on our beliefs a lot. And this is Theta Healing. Theta Healing has this incredible ability of healing your body, of working out of anything that is causing restriction, struggle, scarcity, hardship, so that you can really attune to what is fulfilling. Yeah. So I want to just open this up if you have questions. We've covered a lot tonight on the sense of purpose, how things manifest as struggles, what gets in the way, and some of those beautiful aspects of this modality of Theta Healing. Yeah. It is something that everybody has the ability of learning. You are naturally gifted. The one element that is important to have to be able to really practice it as a technique is a central belief in a creator, that you believe that things are possible to change rapidly, that you believe that there is an ability of creating healing through your connection, through your intuition, and through your mindset. So I see you sitting with this and you're exploring, you're thinking. What questions do you have? What's coming up? Mm-hmm. Yes, no questions? You can write them in if you don't want to unmute. Yeah. Do you have questions about manifesting, about purpose? One-on-one sessions. So with Theta, there is learning the technique and doing the training so that you cultivate and develop the skills and tools within yourself, which is a 3-day intensive training where through the course you cover a topic like doing an intuitive reading or doing a healing, you get to see a demonstration of it, and then you partner with another person in the class and do a reading or healing on them, and they do a reading or healing on you while you're supervised by me. One-on-one session is a private 1 hour session that is on Zoom, just the two of us, where we dive deep into what is happening in your life, what you wish to address, if that is a struggle, if that is a health issue, if that's a relationship thing. And we navigate that with the different tools of Theta Healing. So the tools of Theta Healing is learning how to do an intuitive reading. That can be a reading on the body, that can be a reading on a situation, it could be a reading on the energy. And then from there, it goes into a place of what I call process. So to process the topic is to explore the different reasons why it's happening, what manifested it, for how long has it been going as a pattern. And we do belief work. We dig into where the subconscious beliefs are, identify them, and using the theta technique, I, as the practitioner, would go into theta with your permission and pull and replace that belief. I would be doing the healing work on you. I may guide you in some self-discovery and guide you in doing the theta meditation for you to come into a place of receiving the healing. In theta, through the sessions, through the work, you are able to do the healing work on yourself. You're able to facilitate it with someone else for them, but they are always a full participant. So a session, it has different elements to it that can seem like a talk therapy, like a digging session, but it also has intuitive reading and energetic healing work, working on like things like something called hooks and cords of a relationship, going back and resolving trauma, calling back soul fragments that feel stuck and trapped that keep us in past memories, working on doing physical healings for the body, working on things like our mental chemistry, our hormones, clearing infections from the body, working on the receptivity of our cells for nutrition. So there's a wide range of things that people come for theta healing sessions for. Learning the technique, you're then empowered to do this work for yourself, as well as being certified to be able to practice it for others. It is a beautiful experience, and it's a real initiation. It takes you through the process where you get to practice and learn these different tools, these different techniques of the theta healing technique, while receiving the work being done on you through over the course of 3 days. So it's very impacting and very transformative in that way, while then also giving you the certification, licensing you as a theta healing practitioner. So those are two of the options of how to really get to experience the work and be able to learn it and to go on that journey of personal and intuitive development. So, other questions? That was a good one. Do you have any questions towards any personal struggles that you face, or feeling disclarity around the sense of purpose? Okay. Um, career struggles. Um, the way the subconscious works with what we're pursuing as a life path, with career and finance. Um, even when we do feel like we are in a career path that is what we want, and we really want to stay in that and we desire it, there can still be places that we run into of struggle and resistance. Resistance can come from within, resistance can also come from outside of ourselves. So when we work on the undercurrent of beliefs that is creating the resistance, that is creating the struggle, it opens up for the opportunities for growth in the career, for building of whatever that path is. I've worked with a lot of people that want to transition to a healing practice and worked through those fears and resistance. I've also worked with a lot of people that struggle in moving up in their career path and feel like they are at a ceiling where opportunities aren't opening up. They feel stuck in their position. They feel unfulfilled. They feel disrespected. They feel sucked dry. They come home feeling exhausted and been able to work through those patterns of nobody really recognizes my talent. Everybody just keeps putting more work on me and I just can never work through this. Like, why won't they see what I'm capable of? And like, I really want to feel appreciated, right? So with situations like this, through the digging work to address the belief systems, it's not just talk therapy of let's see where this comes from. It actually transforms the situation when we use the theta technique of canceling those beliefs. When we actually clear them out of the subconscious, we reprogram them with replacing beliefs that are empowering to you. So at the end of the session, you actually feel more energized, you feel more empowered, you feel a sense of relief, and you have some clarity of what's happening in the situation. But then our subconscious actually expresses out to the world around us and attracts how people treat us. I remember in a class, this person came up and was talking to Vienna. It was actually in the first teacher's training that I took. And I've known Vienna for a little while at this point, and I know how observant and respectful and kind and generous she is, especially with our time. And this person was speaking to her, having a conversation, and she ignored and walked away from him. I watched her walk away across the room and catch herself that she did that. And she walked back and she comes back to him and goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did that. I totally stopped listening and walked away. I'm really sorry." And he's like, "Oh, it's okay. Everyone does it. It's not your fault. It's okay. Nobody ever listens to me." And so feeling that, she's like, wow, she works on his beliefs around not being heard and not being listened to, and pulls this belief, nobody listens to me. After that, he had this charisma and opened up and people listened to him. He ended up going on to becoming this incredible motivational speaker. It opened up for opportunities. So as we shift our beliefs, it draws opportunity to us as well. So that's really a lot of the process with working on career paths. This other question here, no clarity on sense of purpose. What's a good thing to do until that clarity becomes present, in addition to doing theta healing work? The sense of purpose is not something that is always active in our conscious logical mind. It's something that is in our deeper knowing. It's something that is felt in the bones. It's something that is felt in the heart. There is an intuitive resonance when we creatively explore what is possible. When our heart carries grief, when our heart carries heavy emotions, and when we're empathic and have taken on energy from other people, that starts to become these layers on our heart, there can be a disconnection and a forgetting. And what I do with people is we really look at what they're carrying in their heart, and I guide them into listening to that divine knowing inside themselves and in their heart. And we have to work through some of those layers first. We have to get through some grief, sadness, sorrow, despair, or betrayals. Somebody feels heartbroken. As we address and start to shed these layers, you can go inward and listen to your heart. You can also do a meditation and go up and listen intuitively upward. When we tap into our higher self, into our higher intuition, we feel uplifted. And the highest truth when exploring what is purpose and what is fulfilling, it builds your vitality. It feels like there's lightness, and there's a calmness, and you feel an optimism of, I can do this. So when we face limiting beliefs that get in the way of that, or when we face energetic things that create that congestion in our heart, sometimes healing is needed first. There's a lot of different techniques and processes that really work on healing the heart and working through those layers of, if it is emotion, empathic energy taken on, or that energy of trauma or betrayals. But it's something that some process sometimes is needed before we really become clear and have that knowing. Once we have cleared this, then it is listening intuitively. It isn't trying to logically figure it out. What I logically thought was my path was listening to my subconscious as a prescribed life. It took me having to receive a healing and intuitively open up to receiving the message. When I really heard and felt, and then there was a knowing, there was no doubt. So we have a few more minutes here. With this journey, with coming in tonight and feeling called to this, we can go deeper, one-on-one, and follow up with, a strategy call where we can touch in. I can give you some guidance on, what you're bringing up more personally for you. And I can give you suggestions of what a roadmap would be of if we were to work together, or if you came to the ThetaHealing training, where to really focus to be able to get that clarity and get that fulfillment. I see this other question here. With health issues, took me from a sense of crisis to defeat to seeking in different modalities, and slowly shifted to considering that it can be viewed as an initiation. Yeah. Grew a lot from it. We're never in one purpose. Sometimes there's an evolution and we move either as a growth of a journey, but also as a chapter, and we get to a place where it's time for a shift. I remember with my practice, I got to a place of feeling that status quo. And, it was really exciting and fulfilling. I had my practice, my private practice. And then I got to a place where I launched my brick and mortar healing center, and I opened an official Theta Healing school. And I was so excited, and had my partners, we opened, and then all of a sudden it was like this status quo. And I faced this place of like, it isn't fulfilling. And then even my manifestation seemed to not happen. I kept wanting it to attract more clients, and all of a sudden my clients stopped, and I had like zero practice. And we were freaked out because we opened our doors, we had this big overhead, and we were like, oh my gosh, what am I to do? At first I was like, what's blocking this? And I was looking at what was blocking it, and I was working on all the beliefs relating to what's blocking it, but I just got more frustrated. And then I kind of rinsed off. I did a grounding thing, and I went up and I intuitively asked, like, what's happening here? What needs to happen to take the next step? What should I do to move forward from this? And I felt this clear answer. I both heard it and I felt it of, it's time to help other people start their practices. It's time to mentor other healers instead of just doing the healing work. And when I heard that, it felt warming. I was like, oh, that kind of sounds fun. That sounds exciting. Instead of doing all the healing work, I can help others do the healing work. Yeah. And I realized, looking at my students who were launching practices, they were struggling trying to figure it out. Stepping from doing trainings to professionally healing is a big leap. And as soon as I started to write a manual for mentoring and doing a mentorship program, all of a sudden everything opened up and started flowing again. So sometimes we do need to evolve, to shift. Sometimes we have to surrender and let go and let life transition to something different and something else. I've gone through that in different ways with my practice. I've gone through that in different ways with my marriage, with growing into being a parent. My wife and business partner, she was very, very focused on the business side and entrepreneurship and wanting to teach the classes and do the work. And we did this class of reading purpose for each other. And in Theta, it's called divine timing. And all these people were reading her, and they're all pointing to her belly. And she's like, I never thought of, I don't know if I want kids. And I already had 2 kids from a previous marriage, and she felt very, in contentment of being a stepmom and never thought about it. And then about a year later, she became pregnant. And through becoming a mom, it has launched her into learning about parenting and studying the nervous system and understanding development and communication things. And what is so exciting and fulfilling is not just her creative side of, being a songwriter and singer and learning healing, or being in business, but being a mom. So this is where we have to let ourselves evolve, and sometimes it's letting go of things. We got to a place where we let go of our brick and mortar healing center. We intuitively listened and transitioned. We closed our doors in 2019 and transitioned online going into 2020, kind of right before all the pandemic stuff. So like the way things flow and how you listen is really important. So being in that mystery, if it's creating that heaviness, sometimes that's addressing beliefs and blocks. Sometimes that is lifting and developing our intuition more to be able to hear higher guidance so that we can intuitively discover what's next and let ourselves move into that. So I do want to drop into the chat a link for you. We can follow up with checking in a call if you feel called to it. So with this link, you can book a free check-in call. They're about 20, 30 minutes long of checking in personally, seeing where you're at, answering some questions, and exploring, where to work on, what to build to be able to really discover purpose and take this next step. If you haven't learned about theta healing and from this lecture feel called to exploring, we do have a basic theta healing class coming up online in the middle of May. It is on May, I believe 17th, 18th, and 19th. And if you wish to learn more about that, here's the link to our upcoming basic class. And that is on our website under upcoming schedule, mythiclife.com. And I'm so excited to connect with you, to have you on here tonight. I hope this gave some good clarity to the concept of purpose and how things get in the way, both intuitively and in our belief systems and in the health situations of our life that pull us out of it and get in the way of really feeling fulfilled, and how you can really learn to shift out of this and heal and empower yourself intuitively and spiritually with these incredible abilities. So I just want to thank you for joining tonight, and make sure to book that strategy call. I want to connect with you one-on-one and see how I can best support you in moving forward.